Welcome in, everyone, to Spiritual Roots Podcast with me, Misty. I hope you're all doing well today. Thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed last topic of rituals. That was a lot of fun creating that episode. So thank you so much for coming along for that ride. But today's topic is all about floriography, the secret language of flowers. And I fell hard for this topic. I first discovered it, I came across it recently, I'd say within the past month or two now. So if any of you don't know, Jessica Roux is a wonderful illustrator. Her artwork is absolutely stunning, but she has created an oracle deck and a tarot deck, the Woodland Wardens Oracle and the Woodland Wardens Tarot, which is a newer deck that she had put out. And I recently purchased the Woodland Wardens Tarot deck. And as I was looking through the guidebook, and I think it's on the inside of the box as well, it lists that she has books that she has illustrated and have written. And this one said, Floriography, an illustrated guide to the Victorian language of flowers. I had never heard of this before, and I was so intrigued. I went down a whole rabbit hole with this. I had to get the book. I got it home, and I fell in love with this. It's so beautiful. I really suggest diving into it. And towards the end, she has bouquets in the back, and I'm going to read a couple of those. And again, this is out of her book, Floriography, an illustrated guide to Victorian language by Jessica Roux. Her artwork is just gorgeous. I highly recommend going to check out her artwork. You can find her on Instagram. That's where I follow her. But I fell in love with this topic, and I just wanted to do an episode about it. So I'm going to stop rambling. Let's get in to Floriography, the secret language of flowers. Today we're stepping into a world where petals whispered truths, bouquets carried confessions, and flowers spoke when voices could not. We're talking about floriography. This is a story of symbolism, restraint, romance, rebellion, and intuition. A time when a single bloom could say, I miss you, I forgive you, or I will never forget you. Floriography is the practice of assigning meanings and messages to flowers, plants, and even how they're presented. Not just which flower you gave, but was it blooming or wilted, given with the right hand or the left hand, upright or upside down. Every detail mattered. This wasn't just poetic, it was an intentional communication woven through nature. While flower symbolism existed in ancient cultures from Greek mythology to Persian poetry, floriography as a formal language truly blossomed during the Victorian era in the early to mid-1800s. Its popularity in Europe, especially England and France, is often credited to Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, who observed floral symbolism while living in the Ottoman Empire in the early 1700s. Her letters introduced the idea of flowers as coded messages to Western society. By the 19th century, books called flower dictionaries became widely popular, each listing detailed meanings for hundreds of plants. And as I was reading, and Jessica does mention it in her book, and I while I was doing a little bit of research for this, people would carry these in their houses because this was such a common interaction between people. They would carry these flower dictionaries in their homes. So if they received a bouquet, they could go to their bookshelf and look up what the flower meanings were. And I just find that so fascinating. How cool would that be to get a bouquet and it has a message hidden in it? And I fell in love with that. Victorian society was deeply restrained and rule-bound. Open emotional expression, especially for women, was discouraged. Desire, grief, longing, rejection, all had to be hidden beneath politeness. So, a woman and a man or whoever wanted to court one another, they couldn't be open about it in the Victorian area. That wasn't proper. That wasn't the correct and polite thing to do out in public. You couldn't be, I don't even think you could hold hands. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that was looked upon as polite, proper etiquette in public with one another if you weren't married. A bouquet could express romantic interest, heartbreak, moral judgment, social boundaries, even secret affairs. And women in particular mastered this language. In a world where their voices were often limited, flowers became a form of quiet power, a way to communicate truth and emotional depth without breaking the rules. Floriography wasn't just social, it was energetic. Flowers have always carried symbolism because they grow between earth and sky, live brief but potent lives, represent cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Using flowers as messengers connected humans to nature's wisdom, seasonal rhythms, emotional honesty without confrontation. By the early 20th century, floriography began to lose its cultural grip. Social rules loosened, women gained more freedom of expression, language became more direct. Industrialization shifted daily life away from symbolism and ritual. And isn't that, it's a little bit sad, isn't it? I mean, industry really moved forward a lot of our ways that we live now, but it's sad to me that we've lost a little bit of that symbolism in life, giving someone that bouquet. We all know red roses for love or yellow roses for friendship. We associate those in these common times. And I like to think that maybe floriography gave us that space and that common knowledge to use those flowers as certain symbolisms when we give people bouquets. And I think it's also tied to, funeral flowers, lilies, for example. So we still carry that, and I really love that, but I never knew it was such a big deal. And I can't say it enough. I found it really interesting. World events like World War I also changed priorities. People needed clarity, not coded messages. Flowers remained beautiful, but their meanings became more decorative than deliberate. The secret language slowly fell silent. And yet, here we are, drawn back to symbolism, back to intuition, back to slow, intentional living. Floriography speaks to those of us who feel deeply and communicate beyond words. It reminds us that nature is always speaking. Beauty can carry truth, softness is not weakness, silence can still be powerful. When you give a flower today, whether knowing it or not, you're participating in an ancient ritual of meaning. Let's tap into some of the meanings and maybe a little bit of ritual with the flowers. So we use them, don't we, to celebrate endings and beginnings, like I had mentioned in the prior episode with rituals. We give flowers for weddings, we give flowers for graduations, dance recitals. Flowers are such a powerful gift, for lack of a better term. They're just a powerful element in our lives, aren't they? Flowers are so amazing, and I just love looking at them. I love going to gardens. In Portsmouth, New Hampshire, there's a beautiful garden down there by Strawberry Bank. If you're in the New England area, if you haven't been, I highly recommend going to Prescott Park. It is beautiful there. Their gardens are well maintained, and it's just a haven for pollinators. There's always butterflies. I went there with a couple of friends over the summer, and there were geese all over the place. It's just a beautiful spot, and it's right next to the water. It's right on the mouth of the Piscataqua River. It's beautiful. Let's get back into the meaning of flowers. Some well-known flowers are rose, love, devotion, passion, also secrecy. Sub rosa meant under the rose, a promise of confidentiality. Daisy, innocence, loyalty, new beginnings, a reminder of simplicity and childlike truth. Sunflower, adoration, warmth, spiritual alignment, always turning toward the light. Tulip, perfect love, confidence, declaration of feeling straightforward and sincere. Lily, purity, renewal, grief, and transition, often associated with both birth and death. Some lesser known or forgotten flower meanings. Yarrow, healing, courage, emotional protection, often used for boundaries and energetic strength. Roux, regret, protection, historically used in spiritual cleansing. Forget-me-not, true remembrance, soul connections, a promise that love transcends time. Wormwood, absence, sorrow, shadow work, a plant of grief, truth, and emotional depth. Heliotrope, devotion, eternal love, spiritual loyalty, turning toward what nourishes the soul. If you would like to create a floriography altar, you'll need fresh or dried flowers, intuitively chosen, of course, a candle, white, pink, or green, a small bowl of water, a journal, optional crystal allies like rose quartz, amethyst, or clear quartz. Place a flower at the center, arrange them slowly, let your hands lead. Light your candle and say quietly, I open myself to the wisdom of nature. Sit for a few moments. Notice which flowers draw your attention most. That's your message. Love that. Floriography ritual. Speaking without words. So this is just a little ritual that you can add into this if you'd like. Choose a flower that reflects how you feel, not how you want to feel. Hold it near your heart and ask silently, what are you here to teach me? Place the flower on your altar or press it into a book or journal. Let the meaning reveal itself over time. There is no rush in flower magic. And if you'd like, I did get some journal prompts for this. If you would like to work with some flowers, I love one crafting thing I do like to do. I guess it's not crafting, it's just fun, is to press flowers in books. I love doing that. On summer solstice, I will pick some flowers, if I'm out gallivanting around, if I'm outside, doing a ritual, I will pick some flowers that are nearby and I will keep them and I press them in my journal and I'll put some Scotch tape, or if you'd like, you could glue them in, or just let them stay loosely in your book. It could be any book, but I just love also, drying flowers that way and pressing them in the book. I just think they're so beautiful. I love the delicateness of the flowers when they're pressed. It's just beautiful to me. If my heart could send a bouquet today, what flowers would it choose? What emotions am I avoiding naming out loud? Which flower feels like my current season of life? What truth am I ready to express without exploration? How can softness become a strength for me right now? So let those sit with you. They're there for you if you'd like to use them. Always like to give guidance just for self-reflection. It's always a good thing to do once in a while. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get into the seasons in bloom. Welcome back, everybody. Let's get into the seasons in bloom, a journey through flowers and cycles. Spring, awakening and new beginnings. Spring is the season of rebirth, hope, and gentle courage. It arrives after stillness, reminding us that life returns even after long winters. Daffodil, renewal, hope, self-love, a symbol of emerging from darkness into light. Tulip, perfect love, confidence, fresh starts, encourages honest expression and emotional clarity. Crocus, joy, youthfulness, awakening, one of the first to bloom, brave and resilient. Violet, faithfulness, humility, intuition, a quiet flower for those who feel deeply. Spring teaches us that beginnings don't have to be loud. Sometimes growth is soft, tender, and uncertain, and still valid. Summer, It's for expansion and vitality. Summer is full expression. This is the season of confidence, passion, connection, and embodiment. Flowers bloom boldly now, unafraid to be seen. Sunflower, joy, devotion, spiritual alignment, turning toward what nourishes you. Rose, love, desire, emotional truth, a reminder that vulnerability can be powerful. Lavender, peace, calm, emotional balance, soothing the nervous system and the soul. Marigold, protection, strength, honoring ancestors, often used in spiritual and ancestor work. The summer lesson. Summer reminds us to take up space, to be seen, to experience pleasure without guilt. This is not excess, it is aliveness. Marigolds and roses remind me of my grandfather. My grandpa was an amazing flower keeper. He didn't necessarily have huge gardens, but he was a green thumb to the max. His roses were absolutely beautiful. He grew yellow roses. I think at one point in time he also grew pink roses. When him and my gram would buy a new house, he would plant a new rose bush where he would live, and he would grow that. And there's a house not too far from where I live, where my grandparents lived, and I have a lot of great memories at that house. He had beautiful rose bushes there, and he tended his flowers like no one had ever seen. And it was just beautiful that he would grow such beautiful flowers. My grandfather was a man of very few words, but I always remember he had marigolds and he always had roses that he grew. And looking back, I never asked him why he grew flowers, and I wish I would have. Now that I'm doing this episode, that kind of brings that up for me. But my aunt grows flowers now, and I have roses here at my house, and I think one of my other cousins, she also grows flowers, and I think we all take that away from my grandfather, of his growing of flowers. And my grandmother on my stepdad's side has, at her home she just sold a couple years ago, her gardens were gorgeous. And I'll post those pictures. I took a lot of pictures before she sold the home, and I was lucky enough to get a couple pieces of her quartz chunks that her father had given her from some property. I can't remember if it was from their home that she grew up in. I can't remember, but I was lucky enough to get a couple of those pieces before she sold her house, because she and I would talk gardening, and she gifted me a lot of her gardening books. And I think Marigold just brought this up for me. Gardening is such a family activity. It really can be. It can be handed down from generation to generation, and I love that about flowers. And it's part of the reason why I was inspired to do this episode, because my grandfather also grew flowers, and they were beautiful, and he really did well at it. And my mother also grows flowers and plants. So the green thumb grows in the family. Autumn. Release and transformation. Autumn is sacred. It's the season of letting go. Gratitude, shadow work, and transition. Flowers now carry deeper, heavier meanings, mirrors the soul's inward journey. Chrysanthemum. Truth, grief, wisdom, honoring cycles, associated with ancestors and endings. Dahlia. Inner strength, grace under pressure, beauty that thrives in change. Aster. Patience, reflection, trust, a bridge between light and dark. Goldenrod. Encouragement, resilience, abundance, a reminder that richness exists even as things fade. Autumn teaches us that release is not loss, it is preparation. What falls away makes space for rest. Winter. Winter is often misunderstood, but spiritually it is the season of deep wisdom, rest, and inner truth. Few flowers bloom, but those that do carry profound meaning. Hellebore, winter rose. Resilience, hope during hardship, blooming in darkness. Camellia, devotion, self-worth, quiet strength, elegance without performance. Snowdrop, hope, renewal, faith, a promise that light returns. Holly, protection, endurance, sacred boundaries, holding life through the cold. Winter reminds us that the rest is sacred. Not everything needs to bloom to be alive. So now we know some of the flowers that we can work with, and there are hundreds of flowers out there. Visit your local floral shop. Get to know a florist. I have a dear friend who is a beautiful artist of flowers. Her bouquets are gorgeous. So let's tap into some bouquets maybe that you'd be interested in. And at the end, I am going to get into Jessica Roux's book and just read off a couple of her bouquets, because at the end of her book, she gives a handful of bouquet examples. Spring bouquets. So if you want to work with the seasons with your flowers, awakening and new beginnings. Daffodils, tulips, violets, crocus, and hyacinth. This bouquet represents renewal, hope, and gentle courage. It's perfect for new chapters, healing grief, setting intentions, celebrating self-growth. Some ribbons to attach to this bouquet are soft yellow for optimism, joy, new energy, pale pink for self-love, emotional healing, light green for growth and heart opening. Use a simple bow. Spring energy doesn't need to be overworked. Summer bouquet. Sunflowers, roses, lavender, marigolds. This bouquet speaks of confidence, pleasure, devotion, and embodiment. It's ideal for celebrating love, honoring personal power, creative expansion, gratitude rituals. This bouquet says, I allow myself to be seen. Some ribbon colors. Gold for vitality, success, divine confidence. Red for passion, courage, or life force. Deep orange, creativity or sensuality. Tie this bouquet firmly and intentionally. Summer energy is bold and rooted. Autumn bouquet for release and transformation. Chrysanthemums, dahlias, aster, goldenrod, or dried grasses. This bouquet carries gratitude, grief, wisdom, and surrender. It's perfect for shadow work, honoring ancestors, letting go rituals, transitional seasons of life. Autumn bouquets murmur, what you release nourishes what comes next. Some ribbon colors. Burgundy for depth, emotional, and truth. Burnt orange for transformation and release. Brown or copper for grounding earth wisdom. A looser tie honors the natural shedding of this season. Some winter bouquet ideas for rest and inner wisdom. Hellebore, camellia, holly, pine, cedar, or evergreen sprigs. This bouquet represents resilience, protection, rest, and quiet strength. It's ideal for inner reflection, grief support, spiritual protection, honoring stillness. Winter bouquets speak softly, you are becoming even now. Ribbon colors. White for peace, clarity, spiritual rest. Silver for intuition and moon energy. Deep green for endurance, sacred protection. Keep the bow simple and intentional. Winter magic is subtle. So some ideas on how to gift your bouquet with intention. So before gifting or placing it on your altar, pause and ask, what message do I want this bouquet to carry? What season is the receiver in emotionally? Hold the bouquet and silently set the intention, flowers remember. So before we end this episode, I want to get into Jessica's book real quick. And you may hear me rustling around, fiddling with the pages, and I apologize for that. It's a brand new book, so it's still a little creaky. Her artwork in here is absolutely stunning. It is so beautiful. I can't get enough of it. I really am obsessed. A bouquet for friendship. Assemble this bouquet for a best friend as a celebration of your friendship to brighten their day or let them know they're on your mind. Combine the following in a bouquet fastened with a teal chiffon ribbon. Zinnia for everlasting friendship. Apple blossom for preference. Pansy for a friend you think of often. Eucalyptus for protection and to strengthen the bond of friendship so that it may last throughout the years. Bouquet for warnings. This bouquet is useful for warning someone you distrust or indicating that trouble is on the horizon. Combine the following in a bouquet fastened with a bright red band. Begonia for warning, oleander for caution, lavender for distrust, and foxglove for secrecy. I hope you enjoyed this episode, my friends. There's a ton of information in her book. It's really beautiful. This really got me into this rabbit hole that I'm in, and I'm still enjoying my adventure of diving into Floriography. And I definitely intend on using this for crafting and even for gifting in the future. More intention into what I'm getting for flowers for people or myself if I want to enjoy them. I do grow flowers, and when I grow them on my own, I do put intention into that on what I would like to grow and why. But when I'm getting bouquets for people, in the past I never necessarily thought about what flowers were in there and what that message was. I usually just were like, oh yeah, those flowers are beautiful. These smell wonderful. And that's great. That's perfect. That's how I always chose my flowers as well. But getting into Floriography, it goes so much deeper than that. And it's so much more in depth and meaningful. And that just really sparked something in me. And I hope that this sparks something in you. So thanks for coming along for this ride. I really appreciate it. I hope that you all take deeper meaning into the flowers that you choose for yourself and others. And enjoy the rest of your day. And take care. Thanks for coming along for the ride, travelers. If you're enjoying the show, please share, like, or leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, or come join me over on Patreon, where you'll get show updates and have early access to new episodes every Thursday. You can also find me on Buy Me a Coffee. If you have ideas for the show or would like to say hello, you can email me at spiritualroutespodcast@gmail.com. Please keep sharing the show so we can keep finding our spiritual roots together.